half of why I wanted to come today is just to introduce myself so that I'm not just some random name that you're emailing when you need help, that you can see that I'm a person. My name is Lindsay Yost. I'm an ex-Seattle Council PTSA member. Hi, meanwhile, I haven't said hi to you yet, it's Sabrina. And I kind of quit PTA for a little bit. And then they called me out of the blue and said, do you want to be on the board? And I was like, well, yeah, actually. And the reason why is because I do care a lot about PTA. And I actually, looking into it, I love the work that state has been doing in the last year or so towards DEI and some other stuff that's near and dear to my heart. I'm also a elementary librarian, which is the best job in the world for Genesee Hill in West Seattle. So I'm a Seattle local. And I am now the acting Region 6 director, as well as the area AVP, which area AVPs are in charge of 2 regions. So I'm in charge, and in charge of just means I'm helping, right? I'm just supporting Region 1 and Region 6. So so that's who I am. Anytime you have any sort of question, any sort of mediation, maybe, or no matter in how small or how big, you can absolutely shoot me an email. And then if you have nuts and bolts issues that are kind of what I'm going to go over today, if you email support, they can get you into Member Planet. They can help you with your 990 questions. All that sort of stuff is you would email support at wastatepta.org. But I'm going to share my screen because I want to show everyone. Oh, hang on one second. I'm just going to show you where to find this information because I kind of feel like that's the most important thing rather than me just talking at you for a long time. I want to show you where this stuff is, and then I want to give Sabrina the floor because I know she has a lot of, you're going to need time, Sabrina. So I'm going to try to rush through this, but I want to show everybody where to find it. Setting up my screen here. Here we go.
Yeah,
so
I'll just leave it on so they, so they think I'm in the meeting.
Okay, so
oh my God. It's just a WS.
Margaret, here we go. All right. So WashingtonStatePTA.org is the website. If you go to PTA leaders, and usually we go to leader resources, but for the standards of affiliation, which is what I'm going to talk about today, you go to governance. So that's a little bit different. And then we're going to scroll down to standards of affiliation right here. Actually, can I do that? So standards of affiliation, this is going to give you all of the things you need. First thing is the checklist. Everything with Washington State PTA is pretty wordy. So I'm going to scroll down to the actual checklist right here. And I'm going to give you a cliff notes of what we need to worry about right now. The first one is Form 990. That one needs to be filed by November 15th. And you can go into, and I'm not going to go into the details of that today, but there's the 990 EZ versus the other 990. It depends on where your PTA is. You probably have last year's that your PTA did, hopefully. And so you know kind of which one you need to follow. But that deadline is going to come up quicker than we think, right? So that's the first one. The second one is if you don't have your officer names and contact info in Member Planet, that's how we get to contact you, right? Washington State PTA. And we're here to help you, right? So if we know that like the 990 deadline's coming up, we want to email you and say, hey, this is coming up so that you don't forget it. And then you have to pay late fees like Seattle Council's having to do from actually a time when I was on the board. And so I'm so sorry, right? But that happens. Officer name. So that one's important. Insurance, the end of your insurance year is November 30th, most likely. And so you want to make sure that you update your insurance coverage for next year. And I've had PTAs email me and say, okay, this is our coverage. Is this sound normal, right? And you can do that certainly. I'm not gonna, I'm not an insurance agent, but I can definitely say, yeah, this is kind of what most PTAs have. This is stuff that other people can buy, but you don't have to. So I can help with that stuff if you want help with that. And then the last one is the 25 member minimum down, it's number 12. The deadline for that is October 31st. And then that says on that line on number 12, it says, or approved membership waiver. So contact Washington State PTA, contact me if you feel like you just can't get the 25 members, right? This is a Washington State PTA requirement, not an IRS, not an insurance. So there's some wiggle room there, right? Like we can help you. I'll join if you need some help, right? Like there's lots of things we can do to help support your PTA to get that done. So those are the main things. All the rest of this, don't worry about it right now. If you're not there yet, right? Because I know that we're all dealing with so much. And these nuts and bolts are supposed to be here just to make sure that you have the basis to do the heart's work, which is what we're here for. Right. So that one's super important. Let me go to the next one, which is frequently asked questions. Y'all, again, Washington State PTA is so wordy and I'm so sorry, but this is here and I'm not going to go through it right now. Right. But this is on that governance page. So if you have a specific question, like what's changed in the last 2 years, you don't need a vice president as a requirement. You only need a president, a secretary, and a treasurer to be elected for the baseline. So if you're having trouble finding members and finding officers, like a lot of PTAs have been doing lately, especially because of COVID, that's a little bit of a reprieve, which is nice. If you want to know deadlines, right, frequently asked questions. You don't have to submit your SOA checklist. And it kind of goes through more of that stuff. So that's there. And wait, there's more. Tips and best practices. Guess how long this one is? It's like 8 pages. So I'm not going to go through it, but I want you to know that this is here for you. If the standards of affiliation is kind of overwhelming you, this tips and what's it called? Tips and best practices is really good to just kind of sit down and go over. It talks about your year-end review, right? Which we can talk about later, not tonight. I just wanted to talk about the main 3 things that we have to get first. But this is here on that website. So all of this is right here under governance. And then the last thing I want to show you, they're about to update it to a new video, but this is last year's video. And this is a 15-minute video that goes through all of those standards of affiliation step by step. And so that's another reason why I don't want to go through it tonight, but I want you to know that this is here. It's 15 minutes, so it's not super long, but it's something that you can go back to anytime you have a question about your standards of affiliation. And again, Washington State PTA is not trying to be a finger waggy thing. This is just to make sure that you don't have to pay those late fees, right? And that you have your baseline so that you can do the heart's work. So that's it. Are there any questions? And let me stop sharing my screen. I know that was the fun one. I'm used to like fun, like, picture books and to talk about 990s instead tonight. So sorry. But hopefully what I hope to bring across is that I don't want you to get overwhelmed, right, with any of this stuff. And I don't want you to think that like, the IRS is going to come down and, hammer you closed on the day on November 16th, right? The day after that 990 is due. The whole point of the umbrella organization and the reason why I wanted to be on the board is because we're here to help the PTAs with this ticky-tacky stuff so that you can do the real work.
This is Yana. Can I just ask a quick question? And I don't know where this is at, but we are a little bit stuck with some member planet stuff.
Mhm.
I think that there was some like accidental removal of self of someone, one of us.
Oh,
And
I think someone emailed me about that, and I forwarded that to Robert with her.
yeah, but we haven't heard back. So
Okay. Yeah.
we're kind of stuck. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I just forwarded it yesterday. So,
oh, okay.
yeah. So that stuckness was me, and I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I actually don't yet have access to the president email for some, so we'll have to work on that, and we're planning on working on that this weekend anyway. So
okay. Yeah, Robert always replies back within 24 hours. I was the one that was the logjam for the last week because I was super behind. So now that Robert has it, he's the one that has access to all of the local PTA contact information. Funny enough, I don't. So he'll be able to help with that.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Lindsay, there was a question about what your email address was.
So sorry, let me put it in the chat.
Thank you. And then I put the SOAs in the chat as well, and I'll put in the minutes as well. Does anyone have any other questions? To also support with Member Planet, we've been emailing it everybody. Just the end of the month is when the Member Planet needs to be updated. But yeah, like let us know if you need members or what needs to happen. Um, but yeah, area AVP
Mm-hmm.
at wastateptsa.org. And I believe Robert's just support at wastatepta.org.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm all caught up with email, so I promise I won't. It was sort of a catch up, a little moment there after the school year started.
We need support recruiting committee chairs, says Yana.
Ditto.
I know, we all need
Who wants to be Region 6 director?
I mean, I am laughing myself as I'm putting this in the chat. But, you know, I'm just like, I'm just gonna shoot all the things I have to say in there. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody will hook themselves on.
I will say that Region 6 this year, I'm really trying to focus on because this is something that's happening all across PTA, all across Washington, and I'm sure the state is trying to find leaders, right? Because I think that people that were kind of hanging on over COVID, they're tired, right? And they're done. And I do have hope because I have seen a lot of new, younger parents kind of coming up and they're excited and they want to do stuff and they have no idea what they're doing, right? Which is great because they have new ideas. And so my focus this year with our Region 6 committee and everything that I'm doing is leadership development, right? How do we make volunteerism sustainable, right? We don't have 20,000 meetings and we don't expect too much from them, right? Because we're all busy. And we all have family. And then how do we make sure that they feel needed and figure out how to recruit those people? So that's something that when I figure it out, I'll pass that on, Yana, because because we're all working on it. Anyway, I'll stop talking because it's Sabrina's turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Ready for me, June?
Yeah, so let me get the right screen up.
So I'm Sabrina Burr, and I am back with Seattle Council this year. I am working with high schools, but as everyone knows, I pitch in whenever I can. I am going to be sharing a presentation with you today. This presentation comes from the Office of Family Engagement from National PTA. The number one indicator of student success is in family engagement. And we've been doing work with family engagement for a long time. And the family engagement standards were just updated. And congratulations to all who were a part of it. Seattle Council was a part of it. SEA was a part of it. We had youth who were a part of it, and many communities of color and our disabled community, both parents and students. So that's something to celebrate, and we can go on to the next slide, June. This is National PTA's mission. This is what drives everything we do. PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. And we started in 1897, and not much of our mission has changed, just the wording. And for me, this is really important, and this is why I do work with PTA, because collectively our voice is extremely strong at the nation's capital, at the legislature, and pretty much every state that has PTA. There's a few that don't, and at our state capitals and our districts. And PTA is driving the decisions, and we need to make sure those in PTAs who are driving decisions look like the kids in our classrooms. We can go on to the next one. And these are the main learning objectives. We'll be looking at some of the research, so we'll get the research that can be used to make our case for greater investments in family engagement. That's something that we need to be doing at the state level. We need to have family engagements funded there. There's a national movement for that, but also right now, Seattle Public Schools really has no family engagement. These are strong tools that we can be sharing with our principals and our building leaders, and be working with families and teachers and our building leaders and our district leaders. And we can also discover how national PTA family engagement partnerships can help to strengthen our family and community engagement. As Seattle Council PTSA president, I use family engagement strategies to not only partner with our district, but also to partner with PTAs to strengthen us, to network us together. And then also National PTA has new tools to support school family partnership, and they've done an amazing job. So we can go to the next one. Now, I want you to look carefully. Is there any headlines that stand out, and we can just have you popcorn out? Does anyone see it?
See Seattle.
Yeah. And we didn't give this to them. National PTA looked. And so that Southeast Move-a-thon fundraiser made national attention. And then if you look at the top, Michigan requires schools to post parent rights in buildings and offices. So that's what family engagement, and that's, you know, some of these national headlines are what the power of PTA can really do. And so we can go on to the next one, June. Like I said, the #1 indicator for student success is family engagement. And I just want you to take a look at what the survey shows for family engagement. So just as important or more important than school leadership, work orientation, safety, and order, curriculum, and alignment, family engagement is just as important as having a high quality principal or rigorous instruction. And everyone who knows me knows that I believe that every building in Seattle Public Schools should have an excellent principal fit just right for the communities that they serve. And then the other thing is struggling schools are more likely to beat the odds when they excel at family engagement. And we're all aligned in a strong partnership. We've been doing this work since the 1990s. And the more we do this work, the more it's proven that an engaged family really makes a difference. And there isn't a difference between engagement and involvement. And so I just want you to think, especially parents with children of dating age, if your child is just involved with someone, you're not concerned. But when they come home and they say that E word, that we're engaged, you look at it a little bit different, right? That's a little bit more intimate, that's a little bit more connected, and that's a little bit more intentional. And so that's how I like to explain the difference between family engagement and family involvement. And we can go on to the next one, Lindsay. I mean, not Lindsay, but June. I guess I'm so glad to have you back, Lindsay. And then this just goes to show some of the studies. Because we know school-family partnerships are important, we wanted you to learn more about families themselves as a part of the updated family engagement standards. We held over 600 family engagement sessions, and many of those were in Seattle. And those were in English and Spanish. And most of the family engagement material are translated in both English and Spanish. I did see some of the work done in Mandarin and Arabic, I believe. And so I know they're working to try to expand the languages, and we can go on to number 7, June. And then these are the top takeaways that were learned. And so a lot of this was really, happening just like right after COVID. And so as schools reopened, families shared positive ratings of their school environment and communication. But there's always room for improvement. And one of the areas was communicating effectively and supporting student success. And in that communicating effectively, being a PTA leader in your school, just working with building leaders, making sure that the communication that's going out to your families is really targeting every family and making sure that we're not missing any families, any languages. And sometimes there's families that they just need someone to orally give them information for their children in their home language. And as PTA leaders, sometimes we can be a bridge and a partner to building leaders to help family engagement happening just right through our own PTA. And then strengthening how schools collaborate with families is key so that they can speak up for their children and also for every child. And so it's really important for PTAs to help in that communication in your PTA meetings, who is sharing information, making sure that parents in your school know where they can get the information. And then we'll be going over some other things and creating the environment and the space and the energy within your PTAs so that all feel welcome. I always say you can get people to one PTA meeting, but what is the secret sauce to make them come back? And that's making sure they're seen and they're heard, and that we're giving them good, strong information that's helping them with their student success and helping the educational experience, not only for their child, but the children around them. And we can go on to the next one, June. So these are some more statistics. As schools show sign of reopening, families share positive ratings on school environment and communication. 81% of schools allow parents inside the building. And so this was just around reopening. But as we reopen, schools are a little bit different. So how do we, make sure that, families are feeling welcome in that environment? And I'll give you just one example. When my daughter was at a pre-K-8, I used to stand at the door maybe 15 or 20 minutes after the bell had rung for those students who were coming in late. And I used to hold that door open with a smile on their face, and that parent in that car dropping them off with like the panic from all that they've gone through, just seeing somebody at the door, just with a loving smile, just welcoming their child in the door, that made a difference for that child. And it also made a difference for a parent. So just as parent leaders, PTA leaders, and just parents, sometimes it's the small things that we can do to help for our PTAs. And we can go to the next one, June. Now, there is room for improvement. Less than 3 of 10 families see schools as doing an excellent job. And even less so in middle and high school. In middle and high school, we believe that our kids don't want us to show up. And as somebody who went back to school with her child, it's not true. In middle school and in high school, they want us to show up different. And the last thing they want us to do is embarrass them in front of their friends. And so, but they do want us to be there. And so, for families who speak other languages home, they say schools provide interpretation and translation. And you can see, that's only 39%. So that's a lot of families that we're missing when we don't even use that, or even different things like robocalls and different ways to communicate in home languages. And for families who have disabilities, say that schools provide accommodations, again, another low number of 32%. And so when we say we're speaking up for all children, we have opportunity to make sure that we change those numbers when we really talk about school environment and school family partnership. And we can go on to the next one, June. And then this one of the areas where schools can improve on communicating effectively is supporting student success. And I'm gonna pivot off a little bit. Last week, I had the pleasure of going to the Alliance for Education luncheon. And those on the stage were asked if they could wave a magic wand, what would it look like for students graduating in Seattle Public Schools? And one thing that I didn't hear was mastery. I didn't hear leaving with a sense of self and a love for learning and a direction for their life. And that's regardless. And so, when we really look at what we have a bar for children for their excellence, we have to raise it if it's just small things that are feel-good things, but not the things that are really going to prepare them for life, prepare them for who they were created to be and who they want to self-actualize as in the world. And so I'm not going to read over, all of this because I've been reading at you. But if you look, 77% of families say it would be extremely helpful if schools provided families with multiple measures on how their children are doing academically. We don't get that And if we're really talking about mastery, if we're really talking about true student outcomes, that has to be like a minimum of what we're doing. Because if we're just waiting for state assessments, then we're not really being given the tools to really support our kids and to make sure that they're getting the services and the resources that they need to not just survive, but to thrive in their education. And then some simple fixes and big bets to improve effective communication for student success. Parent-teacher conferences are one of the ways, and 55% rate conferences are excellent, are very good. But it really depends on the teacher. And I'm just going to be honest. I'm somebody who went back to school with my daughter, was on staff and not on staff. And often I hear teachers who are not honest with parents about where their children are. I see their children. I'm in the classroom with them every day. And then, they're telling the parent, the child is great, they're on task, but I'm in the classroom helping that child with what they don't know. I'm seeing the behavior, challenges, and it's just because the child is not seen. And so I'm just really saying all this to say, as advocates, we really can really support teachers, we can support parents in sharing that information. But I'm just going to go back to what I said before, how that information comes from school, even as a parent, sometimes how it's come from the classroom. And I know that it's not going to land on every parent in that classroom. I just positively give that teacher some feedback that maybe she didn't know. And just a suggestion that maybe she reaches out to a parent in a different way, because teachers have a lot of kids. And sometimes when we're volunteering in the school, we see some things that we don't. So I'll leave that there, and then we can go on to 10 June. Oh, this is strengthening how schools collaborate with families is key, so that they can speak up for their children and every child. And then families' priorities, how children are spending, how their child's school is spending money on the budget. This is something that we're all going to be, looking at, teeing up. Right now, we're looking at budgets as we're seeing beloved teachers, go away, and the things that are going on. The additional funding for COVID, parents wanting to know that. And then this is just something that's just really important for all kids, and before COVID, and even more so after, how children are doing for their social emotional well-being. We know COVID has set our students back. And so this is even part of partnering with our schools, making sure that we're advocating and using the right data to make sure that the mental health of our children are being addressed in multiple ways. So here we go. Our new beautiful standards, some of them have changed slightly. These standards are very, very well supported. Before, I think number one was welcoming families, and we have welcoming all families. But the content of the standards changed based on the listening sessions for 2022 that I talked about. These reflect the best practices and voices of 600 families, educators, and youth, and used by states, districts, schools, parent community organizations for accountability and support. Helen Westmoreland, who is over the Office of Family Engagement, comes to us from Harvard Graduate School of Family Engagement. And then we also work very close with IEL as well, who is a family engagement organization that does great work, who partners with Dr. Karen Mapp as well. And IEL has worked with Seattle Public Schools on the updating of their family engagement standards as well. Let's go to the next slide. I've talked at you. What questions or comments do you have before we go a little bit deeper in the standards? And I know we're kind of button up on a little bit of time. I'm not sure my shot stop time, June. So. Okay, so let's just go to the next one.
This is Yana. I'm so sorry. I can't find the raise hand function on my phone. I'm at a game. And so I wonder, Sabrina, how does, I put that in the chat, how does BLT work play into family engagement? If you can say something about that.
That's a whole nother thing. It's around shared governance, but BLT, like how we did BLT, when I was a part of BLT, we had our BLT report out to our families of what was going on in our PTA meeting. And then that way we could find out what was going on. But those BLT parent reps could also hear from that community and then go back when they're in those BLT meetings and say, this is what I heard from other families. And so in practice, that's kind of what it looks like, if that makes sense. June.
Yeah, thank you. I feel always like that the engagement with the recruitment for the BLPs is somehow a lot of times like cherry picking by the admins, and that I've seen that being problematic, and I was just hoping
cover that more, because that's more around shared governance. And I know talking to Vivian, we're going to do something around shared governance because we have the next year's budget coming up and a budget shortfall, and that all falls in line with BLT because they get a big say, right, in how that's spent. But we will be addressing it, Yana. Thanks for bringing that up. June, is it possible, maybe we can send this out? I would like to at least show slide 25. Just the not on this one, on the one from National PTA. Now, I can share out this slide deck. The slide deck does have all of the different standards. This is a message around family engagement. It's just a few minutes. And I just think it would benefit us to play this real. We don't have to go through the whole thing, I think. I don't know how long it is. It's 12 minutes.
Hello, I'm excited to share with you all that pta.org/standards has to offer. So you'll see at the top, there's this section for getting started. And the first thing I want to share with you is the standards overview. The standards overview shows you for each of the standards, the description, the goals, and the school and PTA indicators. You'll also notice this section, which summarizes the key changes that have been made since the 2008 version. If you want to go a layer deeper, I encourage you to check out the school leader rubric. The school leader rubric really brings to life what each indicator looks like in the school building and in the community. Next, we also have this document to give you a sense of PTA's advocacy work in this area. This includes our asks when it comes to federal action around family-school partnerships. And lastly, in this section, we have the State of Family School Partnerships, which is a research study that we've conducted with Edge Research to share with you the top highlights from the survey that was issued to more than 1,500 parents and caregivers. So going back to the main page, if you scroll down, you'll see some more information about the audiences that might find this tool helpful, an area where you can subscribe to our e-newsletter, a spot to check out our upcoming events and opportunities. And then lastly, here you'll see how you can navigate between all 6 standards. So let's take a closer look at one. So this is standard 3, support student success. And you'll notice again, you see the description, the goals, the indicators, but you also have relevant resources, which we've divided into 3 categories: policy, practice, and research. The resources are in a variety of formats, from videos to podcasts to templates that you can use. Now going back to the main page, if you keep scrolling, you'll see tools separated out for PT leaders as well as for schools and districts. So that just about covers it. We hope you find this page helpful, and if you have any questions, please email familyengagement@pta.org.
Irresistibly smooth chocolate to put the world.
So, are we done at 8:30? Are we 7 minutes over? Am I correct? Yes. There's more to this PowerPoint. So what we didn't show are each one of the standards gone into a little bit more. I did talk about DEI. DEI is a whole nother thing within itself, but I did put together a PowerPoint that we can send out for you, that walks through the whole DEI toolkit, all the work for DEI, and the opportunity for you to do your DEI audit, which I recommend for every PTA to do. And in addition to that, the tools and the resources to have your own listening session. And so all of this information is here. We are here to support you, to support your success. That's the whole purpose of Seattle Council, is supporting the PTAs under our umbrella. Like our president Elsa has says, you know, she's there to support you. But we want to be proactive. We want to give you the tools for success, and we want to make things easier so that it's easier for new leaders to come in and to do this work. And I encourage you to go to the National PTA's website, play and have fun. I got really excited taking a look, trying to prepare for this, and there is just a plethora of trainings and resources, even trainings on how to do virtual meetings. And so I thank you for your time, and we will go ahead and send out these resources. And just please know everyone at Seattle Council and also Region 6 who support Seattle Council, and all of you are here to help you. So I'm going to turn it back over to June.